My name is David Braben. I'm CEO and founder of Frontier Developments here in Cambridge. We floated last July, and Amati invested in us shortly before that at a discount. We floated at £1.25.
£1.27.
£1.27, sorry, yes, you're right. The price, when I looked an hour ago, was £1.99. Okay, so just to talk a bit about the background, because some of you, I don't imagine, who knows about the games industry? Probably you know very little. So just to talk about it a bit, here are some fancy figures. The games industry has grown phenomenally over the last few decades. I've been in it for 32 years, and every single year it's changed dramatically, and that's no different. And the opportunities that have come up now, which I'll talk about in a bit, are absolutely phenomenal. It's why we floated, and there are some wonderful opportunities out there. So great progress. The BBC, for example, said that our industry was bigger than film, plus music, plus television, all put together at the end of 2012. So phenomenal opportunities. And I think people don't realise how big the games industry is and what a key part of entertainment it is. So just to give some examples of that. So this is just looking at two very recent games brought out in 2013. Grand Theft Auto 5, you've probably heard some of the figures. Both of them grossed $1 billion within the first few days. They argue between themselves as to which is the fastest selling. Call of Duty Ghosts was the previous, it was a sequel in a franchise. So this is a game that plays on games consoles like Xbox and PlayStation. Both of them are. Depending on the figures, the sell-in, which is the amount that gets sold into shops for Call of Duty Ghosts, reached $1 billion within 24 hours. But the sell-through, which is when they're taken out by customers, which is a slightly different figure, reached about 800 million for Grand Theft Auto. It's probable Grand Theft Auto was the biggest, but it's very difficult to tell for certain. Anyway, the point is, I think the top 3 entertainment launches are games, and then there's the movie Avatar. So we're an inherently sort of digital business. We're competing with screen space with TV and film. And if you look at particularly the younger generation, you see them attached to their iPads, iPods. We talked about a TV program recently, and the first thing the kids did is they looked on YouTube and watched it there. They didn't bother looking on Listen Again or any of those. Oh no, it's just much quicker. And I think it's that mindset that's changing. People are expecting entertainment to be there for them. They're expecting to pause it. All of those sort of things are changing people's mindset, especially in the latest generation. Now, talking about Frontier. Frontier was founded in 1994, has grown organically very successfully over the years through lots and lots of changes in the business. We're a profitable business. Things have gone very, very well for us. But we've seen some very, very big opportunities. I've sort of already hinted at elements of them coming along. And it's those opportunities that we're in the process of taking advantage of. Specifically, it's the move from the bricks and mortar high street to a digital high street. So talking a little bit about Frontier, we've had a long catalogue of very successful games working with big partners. Some of them that you may know or your kids may know. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 was a game that came out in 2004. I'll touch on that again. There was Disneyland with Microsoft and Disney in 2011. I know some of you have already mentioned Zoo Tycoon that came out in November last year. Excuse me, a long successful history. All of our games use our own tools and technology, which we've called Cobra. And that has given us fantastic economies of scale. And also, being content creators, our position is changing because we've gone from a marketplace that was very much run by publishers, moving to one which is very much more controlled by the content. So where 10 years ago we probably had half a dozen publishers controlling the access to the high street, Now, as the digital high street's becoming established, it's a different set of players, and we are very, very well placed to be one of those players. So, as a process of bringing out those games, and also now, we've got really good, solid, established relationships with key players. People like Microsoft, who obviously I'm sure you know, Nintendo, very big games producer, Apple, making mobile devices which we sell very successfully on, Amazon, they provide a lot of back-end facilities that are really important to all sorts of technology, especially games, and of course Sony. Now, just touching on some of the financial highlights, I think the key thing is we've seen really good growth in the company. You know, we're fundamentally profitable. We're in a period of transition, which is going very, very well, and we've got a very strong cash balance. The last interims was 11.1 million. But what we're doing is we're moving to publishing our own titles. It's a period of transition where we're going from essentially a low-margin, cost-plus business, working with publishers, to a revenue share business, which is way more lucrative to us. We've done some experimentation in those fields, and we're gradually moving, and that's going over very well. So, talking a bit about the setup of the company, the board is made up of myself, David Walsh, Chief Operating Officer, moved to us from ARM, Neil Armstrong, Chief Financial Officer, who's down here. Chief Creative Officer is a great guy, Johnny Watts, who's been in the industry for a very, very long time, starting off at a place called Sensible Software many years ago. Some of you may also know non-execs, David Gammon, who's very, very well known in Cambridge, a fellow Cambridge Angel, also Jonathan Milner, a fellow Cambridge Angel, and the CEO of Abcam, a fellow AIM company with close to £1 billion market cap, I think, just short of that at the moment. The company, we're mostly just down the road on the Science Park. About 10% of our company is in a new office that we opened a while back in Halifax in Nova Scotia. Canada is a very, very interesting country in our business because the Canadian government is very strongly motivated to encourage high tech, especially games, to move there. Especially in centres in Nova Scotia, in Montreal, and there are very, very favourable tax treatments. Now, that wasn't the primary reason. We knew a team that were there, that were available, where we set up our office. But the great thing with that is actually the tax breaks which appear over there may well come over here. George Osborne announced it in the budget in 2012, but I think the EU are currently blocking it. But, you know, if that does go through, that would be great news for us. France already has it, and it's the French that are blocking us getting it. Now, why am I surprised? I'm not really surprised. So this is just a couple of the games we've done over the years, just to show the sort of thing and the quality of what we do. The top game is Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which came out in 2004. Now, with games, if you think of them in dog years, the game that's been out came out very nearly 10 years ago, and it still hit #1 in the charts last year. Admittedly, the budget charts, but I think that is a testimony to how future-proof we've made a lot of our games. So just to explain, it came out in 2004, and we supported everything from laptops of the time to high-end workstations of the time. Now, the reason we supported high-end machines is some gamers do have very fancy rigs, but more importantly, we wanted beautiful shots to appear on the covers of magazines and things like that. We knew a game like this would sell for a long time. It had the potential because there are a lot of people interested in that sort of thing. And what it's done is the workstation of 2004 is now a laptop of today. And so it's still a very successful game. It still essentially owns that marketplace after all those years, which is very positive for us. We're getting six-figure royalty statements every quarter still on that, sold through Atari. And as an announcement that came out towards the end of last year, we've done a deal with Atari, so we have the rights to bring that to other platforms, which is something, you know, so watch this space. Disneyland Adventures, which is the game being shown on the bottom, all of these, this video is taken from in the game, runs on Xbox 360. It's been a good game, successful game for us and for Microsoft. It's been well received, showing the whole of Disneyland, but replacing the rides with what the ride is trying to represent. And it was really great working with Pixar, working with Disney, and all of the people who do the rides in there. Zoo Tycoon was a game, a launch title on the new Xbox One console, which we developed in double quick time. I think it was about 7 months, which for a AAA title is an incredibly short time. Again, that's testament to our technology. One of the things that we've done is invest in that technology. We've moved to 64-bit, which essentially enables the new generations of phones, but also the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. So in this game, you look after a zoo, you tend the animals, and it's really there from Microsoft's point of view, because obviously this was first party, it was Microsoft branded, to essentially show that the console works well with families. It's not just games with gun sights and blood and gore. So I think with this, again, it will be a slow seller and a long seller, much as other titles do on console. You know, it's done the trick. Microsoft are very pleased with it, which is good. And from our point of view, it also shows how flexible our technology is. To go with a launch title, this, I'm going to talk in a second about Elite Dangerous, which is a potentially very, very important game for our company. Uses the same technology, same tools, and it just shows what a broad range of things they can support. So moving on from that, many of you, I imagine, will remember Elite from the 80s. It was just a video from it. So we've announced, and it's already available, that Elite Dangerous is coming out this year. The alpha test, we're going through, this is the move to the digital world is very interesting, because not only does it present interesting opportunities, but the path to market is very different. We started off funding the game via a process called Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding. I don't know, people here probably don't know much about crowdfunding, but essentially it's where people pledge money to get something made, whether it's a Pebble watch, whether it's a game. You know, it's been very, very successful. From our point of view, it very much de-risks the development. So those pledges, it's non-recourse money. We've already fulfilled some of them because the alpha went live in December and has been extremely successful. We've got 44,000 plus backers, more than 2.35 million through Kickstarter and also through our website. Essentially, they're pre-sales of the game and pre-sales of elements in the game, and privileged access to things like alpha, which is the early testing, then beta, which is the later testing phase. It uses our own proprietary networking technology, which we tested with the second alpha release, which is working well. We're working with, at the moment, with servers based in the US. And it has some very, very good cost savings over some of the more traditional ways people have done what are often called massive multiplayer games, which has been great for us. Now, the other thing that some of you may have heard me talk about is procedural generation. The original Elite and Frontier after it used something called procedural generation, where rather than someone having to type in every single star and get its location right, we generate the whole galaxy based on science, based on statistics, according to the way planetary systems form. And then we just override the ones that matter. So we've got something like 150,000 of the nearest star systems that we know about from things like Hubble. They're all in the game. So the entire night sky you can visit. We're doing our absolute best to make it as accurate as possible. Beyond that, we make it up based on what is statistically valid, like mass densities, all of those sort of things. So it's a game where there's something for everyone, where if people just want something to shoot at, they can do that. If they're interested in the science, they can do that, they can explore it. But for me, it's a tour de force. The interest in the game is absolutely phenomenal. Very, very well received, and is one of the most anticipated games for this year in a lot of magazines and a lot of websites. So this video was a video we went live with the second alpha. This is all taken from the game. The game is played on PC and Mac, and may well come to other platforms too. Now, this might not be your sort of thing, but I think the point is, going back to the previous comments, what we're doing is we're building a franchise. If you think of this akin to Star Trek or Star Wars, where we have already sold the rights to more than a dozen books, where people have paid for writing books set in our world, and you know that's going well. We're building a lot of fiction. You can see that there is a lot of scope for it appearing in other media going forward as well. You know, we've also looked at various revenue scenarios that are possible. So this isn't by way of a forecast or anything. It just is one of the things where we have tried to understand, how the game is likely to pan out in terms of success and sales. And of course, the out of the park case is phenomenal. But there have been lots of examples before of games that have followed this sort of path. And just to give some explanation of how this path works, this isn't like bringing out a console game and hoping it's going to be successful, which in any hit-based industry is always a sort of nail-biting exercise. What it is you go through alpha involving all the fans, people are playing it in real-world settings, giving feedback directly, we are changing things based on what they do. And then we go to beta. The point is we can tune it with our audience and our audience working with us. The great thing with Kickstarter and all the funding we've got is those people are evangelists for the game now. They are part of the process of making it. And we will tune it until we hit what we're calling a quality resonance. Now, this has happened with other games before, which have been released in this sort of way. World of Tanks was released in Russian, for example, in its first year. Russian language only, so it's a Russian company. And then translated it to other languages and then hit what we would call the quality resonance. That by the end of 2012, they hit 45 million users and huge revenue, which was actually quoted in euros, hence the stars. The figures from 2013 are 75 million, just to put it into perspective, which I think it's a really big success. It gives you an idea of the size of the market. And another game that I'm sure you know, probably through your kids, Minecraft, was a game that for a long time was in alpha and then a beta process, and then very successfully, year 3 has spread to things like Xbox and now PlayStation. So there are a lot of examples of this trajectory of people doing this, of people tuning things in the market. And what we're doing is, if we go, this new process where most of that revenue comes to us is very, very attractive to us. If we were to do this through a publisher, which is the old model, not only do they take the lion's share of the money, but they say, right, we're releasing it on this date, that's it. That's the way they work. This is a new world and a new set of opportunities. Where this leads is also very, very interesting, because we are selling this online through our own site, and that's very successful. It also creates a footfall where there is an opportunity for us to sell other people's games. For example, those 2 games I mentioned with huge success, we don't need to get a very big percentage of that marketplace. A single % is a lot of revenue if we're making 30% on every copy, which is what retailers do. So this is what we're not talking about high street retail, we're talking about digital retail. And what we're looking at being is a provider where we can give added value through that route going forward in time, where people will want to come to us and build loyalty through our brand. That's not an opportunity for now, that's an opportunity for down the line, but that's the way I see Frontier growing over time. Now, as you can see, we went to market without guidance. The variability in these figures, or rather the timing of success, is key. So that's just to explain a bit of a background of why that's the way it is. Now, to summarise, we're in a really strong financial position. We're managing this transition, which is going very, very well indeed. You've seen Zoo Tycoon. We've also seen a little bit of essentially a hint of Elite. But if you look online and see the coverage we've got, so from those alpha backers, of which there are only 2,000, we're charging a quite high £200 to be part of that. But that's partly because we want to keep the numbers down for the early testing, the early stage online testing. But those people have been very strongly evangelizing the game on a social video service, you may not know it, called Twitch TV. We've had hundreds of hours of streamed video, hundreds of videos uploaded to YouTube of people playing the game, including of people killing me in the game. So, it is really fantastic, some of the coverage we've got and the excitement leading up to this. At the BAFTA Awards, we're actually showing the game in an event that's immediately prior to that to the public for the first time in, next week.